Hello and good evening, fellow PMI members. Welcome to today's meeting of the PMI Ghana chapter. This is our May chapter meeting, and we are happy that you have joined us. My name is Teiko Saba, and I will be moderating the program for today. We have an interesting lineup that would help you to improve your knowledge on project management and also help you to learn more about your club and some of the things that we are doing in the chapter. So without much ado, we would launch straight into the work, and we will start with a prayer by our fellow member and our brother, Habna Owusu. Habna, if you are on the call, please start us off with the opening prayer.
Thank you very much. So, Father, we thank you for bringing us together at the end of another month for us to deliberate and acquire deeper knowledge. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the growth of PMI Ghana chapter. And Father, we thank you and thank you and thank you again for encouraging us and the growth of the chapter. Father, we commit today's deliberations to your care. And we pray that you give us the wisdom of Abraham so that today's deliberations will be successful. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Kwabna, for your prayer. I know that it has gingered us and we are off on the right foot. So without much ado, we'll continue. Today, we have an interesting topic. The topic is project value delivery based on clear strategic outcomes. And when you see that, for me, the key words are value delivery and, of course, clear strategic outcomes. Wow. As project managers, I believe this is something that is of interest to us. How can we deliver on our projects, but also use some value-based indicators to do that? Without much ado, I would introduce our resource person for today. Our resource person is in the person of Mr. Edem Baniba, who is an IT business professional and a value equation certified practitioner, and he's also a business value trainer or coach. He has a first degree in BSc Computer Engineering from the KNUST. He also has project management PMI certification. He has an MSc in management of technology information systems. Wow, that's a mouthful, from Paris, and that's he got in April 2015. And he's also a practitioner in the Totally Optimized Project, TOP, VCP, which he got from North Melbourne, Australia. Now, what is his work experience? Just a little bit, so we know who we will be listening to today. Edem has a vast range of work experience. He has worked as a professional services consultant. He has worked in professional services consulting and delivery. And that is where he currently works from. He started in June 2019 till date. Before that, he was the regional partner for Totally Optimized Projects. He's also served as technical sales consultant for SIGOS Gamble. Apologies if I didn't say it right. And he was the PMO for BCP DRP at Thales Global Services, in addition to many other things. He has graciously provided us with his LinkedIn contacts so that we can continue to engage with him should that be. So today, Edem will be speaking to us on how to deliver value on our projects in line with clear strategic outcomes. Edem, you have the floor. Kindly take over, and we are all ready, all ears to listen to you.
Thank you very much, Teiko, for the kind introduction. Please let me know if you can hear my audio. Am I clear enough?
Yes, you are extremely clear. We can hear every single word.
Great. So let me go on to share my screen.
Okay.
Bear with me. Please, can you also see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Once again, welcome to PMI Ghana's May chapter meeting. Greetings, good evening from where I'm sitting. My name once again is Adam Baniba, and today I'm very excited to share on a topic that I'm very passionate about. So the idea of value delivery in the context of projects. And so today our topic is project value delivery based on clear strategic outcomes. Indeed, the PMBOK Guide 7th edition exposure draft has been built around a value delivery system of which projects are a fundamental component. Value is therefore the foundation of successful change initiatives, which include strategic initiatives, programs, projects, innovation, and continuous improvement. In today's agenda, we would start with an introduction of what strategy is and in the context of projects, so how the two topics relate. And then we will go on to ask ourselves the question, where do we fit value? So in most cases, and in my case, for example, yes, you work on a project, you are able to deliver on time and on budget according to the requirements. But in some cases, you are wondering if whatever solution is of value to the customer. Probably value was never defined, so that could be the reason why you ask yourself this question. And then we would go on to start with how we can deliver value with outcomes thinking, which provides a very good framework to help you capture the value components. Please mute your microphone if you join. I think somebody may have joined with the microphone unmuted. Thank you very much. So let's begin. We will start with understanding what strategy is. So what is strategy? What is not strategy? We would also, so basically, I think you would all agree with me that strategy is probably the most overused, misunderstood word in the business world, being equated only to ambition, leadership, vision, planning. But then the core of strategy is also about discovering the critical success factors in any situation you are confronted with, and then being able to design or focusing actions to deal with these factors. And this summary is coming from the DNA of Strategy Execution by Jack Dugal. So in summary, if you have an idea of what you want to achieve in terms of your strategy, without really drafting specific actions that help you achieve this, so with no proper tactics, you are probably on the slowest route to victory. And then if you have different ideas, actions with no clear strategy of what you intend to achieve, then that is probably the noise before defeat. In the ideal context, your work with strategy would begin with your vision, your goals, your success factors, with the actions that are focused to help you deliver this. This strategy can then be broken down into objectives. So these objectives can be various business value initiatives that should help you achieve some form of competitive advantage as a business, or probably give you some key differentiators in an industry you find yourself in. You can also have key results, which would basically help you have metrics and the benefits that help you understand that you are meeting the objectives of your strategy. At the end of the day, you should be able to realize benefits with the various objectives that you embark on linked to your strategy. Then we also have execution. This is where our work as project management professionals come into play. So we interface at the execution phase of strategy, where we come in to deliver on those objectives, translating the various ideas into real deliverables or solutions. There you can also employ various value delivery models. Then there's governance. Depending on the size of the organization you find yourself in, you may be working with a portfolio, a program, or a project. And then with outcomes thinking, where you are already thinking about the future states of your solution working right or working just right, you are close to delivering solutions that are operational assets, so that add to the strategic objectives of the organization. Sadly enough, too many organizations are struggling with this, although project management is the driver of strategy. Too many organizations are failing to bridge this gap between strategy, design, and its delivery. And also we have a quote from the former chief executive of the PMI Institute, Mr. Mark Langley, which says that effective project management to implement an organization's strategy is key and has a significant impact on the bottom line. This is from the PMI Pulse of the Profession 2018. Okay, moving on. So we have mentioned the topic of outcomes. Let's look at a short definition of desired outcomes. And here we would also look at it in subsequent slides, but just to introduce you to the concept briefly, desired outcomes are carefully crafted
Hello, Adam. Adam, we are unable to hear you.
Adam, please unmute yourself.
Adam, you are muted. If you could unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I think your screen is gone.
Okay. Sorry. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, the screen is back now.
Oh, okay. So where did you lose me on this slide?
I think, yes, at the beginning of the slide.
Okay, so in this slide, yeah, we would just define briefly what desired outcomes are. Basically, these desired outcomes are carefully crafted statements that should describe what the future looks like when it's working right or working just right, right? And also what you intend to achieve. The emphasis is on operating or working, and also when you have a solution that works well or works well enough, that is a solution in its optimized state. You can learn to craft these statements in the morning, but you can get good at it after a few weeks. In practice, you would have a goal setting phase in terms of setting your strategy. And that means that, for example, you arrive at 3 strategic outcomes. Let's say your first strategic outcome is around new customer acquisition. The second one is around employee retention. And let's say your third strategic outcome is for revenue generation and expenses. These outcomes would then need to be broken down into various projects. So this would be in your planning and execution phase. Some projects could be executed in a coordinated way as a program, or they could also form part of a portfolio. You should have a business case that helps you validate in terms of priority, which projects get to be executed, let's say in a particular run, or could wait some time. And then at the end, once you have delivered these projects, you should also be able to know that these projects have been valuable to the organization or to the customer. We also have project governance, which basically helps us to have some structure in the way we work in our organization. So basically, we are not executing projects because these are pet ideas of a particular person or just because you have nice concepts, but your project governance framework allows you to have a structured way of selecting various ideas and then managing them as various projects, using a business case to prioritize and execute. Here, I would want to introduce you to Totally Optimized Project. So TOP provides an interesting framework that allows you to use the top value equation to start defining desired business outcomes. So when you have project objectives, the idea is to translate these objectives into outcome statements. So leading you to operational assets, because this is how you can deliver solutions that are of value to the customer. Then also during the execution, you can also sequence your various outcomes in a specific roadmap that allows you to coordinate the delivery from, let's say, one point to the ultimate goal or objective. Moving on to the next section, where do we fit value? So in the first part, we just tried to understand what strategy is, how strategy should be linked to projects. In fact, every project should help an organization deliver on its strategic objective. And it is projects that are of value that help organizations deliver strategy. So where do we fit value? Let's begin with a quote from W. Edwards Deming, where he says, "In God we trust, all others must bring data." Indeed, in our current digital age, where we are driven by technology and data, we make decisions based on data. This is data coming from a research by Boston Consulting Group, where they gathered information on various organizations that were implementing similar systems. This research showed that some companies performed far better than others. They spent less. So here we can see that there were some organizations that spent less in terms of running costs, but were able to maximize their benefits. However, there were other organizations that ended up spending so much, did not realize benefits, but also spent a lot to realize these benefits. This begs the question, what did they do right? Here we further dissect this research, where we see that there were two components of value that were causing some of these challenges. We see that some organizations ended up spending close to 60% above the budget because there were extra costs incurred, generally from requirements not properly gathered and understood, requirements also leading unclear requirements leading to general process complexity, capital lost generally due to failed projects. So we can see that these effects led to 60% go over the budget. Yeah, we also see that there were issues with benefits which were not properly captured, especially in the business case, and also general benefits that were not able to be realized because they were generally lost due to scope changes, benefits that were not sticky. Here we can see that close to 60% of such benefits were lost generally during the project life cycle. And then at the end of the day, only 40% of the available value was delivered. So here we see some of the important value components that can be interesting to focus on. So if you are now convinced or you want to start delivering value from your projects, where do you begin? You first have to define the value, and then you should also have a systematic way of tracking this value till it is delivered. And it's that simple. In order to define value, we need to understand what value is. Here we capture value in two meanings. So we have value in its broadest meaning, which is about obtaining the business results and the strategic contribution for actually doing the project. So this is measured by a yes or a no answer. Did we or did we not achieve whatever we wanted to realize just by doing this project? So this context of value in its broadest meaning can be measured by the outcomes. So whatever you have realized, also the benefits, the outcomes translate to the benefits. And then we also have the quantified value, which actually is what we end up associating value with, but this is actually value in its narrow meaning. And this context of value in its quantified form can be measured by the money terms, so ultimately money in the bank, or some KPIs, or some proxy measures, or just an observation, example, a BAS. So it's important to understand what value is in order to be able to define and capture it during your work as project managers working on various projects. And if you're also now keen on not just finishing on time and on budget, not just finishing a project, but actually delivering real value, then you also need to understand what value is. Yeah. Also, value is in the eye of the beholder. So take, for example, if you have a customer who finds themselves, or you're working for, let's say, an organization who finds themselves in the desert, right? If you present this person with a bottle of water, they would obviously place much more value on this than let's say, another person who finds themselves in the grocery store, and then they have the chance to choose between different brands, categories of water. Yeah, so it's important to understand that you need to really capture value on a case by case basis. You need to really talk to whoever you're working for to understand what is valuable to them, capture this, define this, and then be able to track that you are doing work that is of value to whoever you find yourself working for. So let's move on to the interesting bits of the presentation where we dive into outcomes thinking. So outcomes thinking is the technique that really helps you to capture the value components that should help you deliver value with your work as a project manager or as a project professional. So let's look again at the definition of outcomes thinking. Or desired outcomes. Yeah, so desired outcomes are carefully crafted statements. I say these statements are carefully engineered statements which describe what the future should look like when it's working just right, and also should define what you intend to achieve. The emphasis is always on operating or working well enough is really a solution in its optimized state. So really outcomes, it's about engaging your stakeholders, right? So let's take, for example, you have been assigned various project objectives. The idea is you need to engage the various people, the key stakeholders, try to just ask them the simple question: what does the future look like when it's all working right, or when it's all working well enough? The idea is to get people's brain on paper. They should tell you whatever is on their mind. You are supposed to gather all these statements, and then by speaking to various stakeholders, you will end up connecting the dots, because there will be some common statements that should be the basis of what you can use to build your desired outcomes for the particular project, or the summary outcome statements. And in fact, value propositions are centered on desired business outcomes, and these are supposed to be the business end state to be delivered, where you want to get to, what you are trying to achieve in the business, and how you will know if you've been successful. Learning to craft these statements normally should take a morning, but you can get very good at it after a few weeks of practice. This is an example from one of the co-founders at ValuePoint, also a regional partner for Totally Optimized Projects. So he gives an example like this: would you want an IT project which is stated as install Office 365, or the same project which has been redefined as an outcome capturing the business value? Yeah, so the business value here has been summarized rather than just stating the project objective. And if we want to just read this briefly, the same project translated into the business value statement would be that all staff devices are upgraded for use of our Office 365 cloud solution. And each department has adopted a use it anywhere approach to their work task, enabling a more flexible approach to where work gets done, supporting an improved life-work balance. So here you see that this outcome statement, you can really say, you can answer, you can measure this with a yes or a no statement. Have we been able to achieve a solution that allows the departments to work anywhere? So irrespective of where you are sitting, you can connect on Office 365 and work, yes or no. You can really just answer it here. So that's the idea, right? The concept of defining outcome statements is really a journey of getting your team in working with you in the same direction. Indeed, if you could get all the people in an organization moving in the same direction, you could dominate any industry in any market against any competition and at any time. Then, just by engaging the various stakeholders, you would end up with various outcome statements. And these outcome statements can also be sequenced in what we call a path dependency roadmap that allows you to know for sure that in order to get to your destination of having everyone on board the new Office 365 cloud solution, you need to start from this first outcome, which involves getting some contracts in place. So contracts that really define the scalability requirements of the solution. And then also new contracts mean you also need to have outcome statements around decommissioning existing contracts. Then we also have the outcome of everyone adopting the solution. That also involves training, right? So you also see that there are also outcome statements around already engaging HR to implement training programs that allow people to readily adopt the solution once it's been implemented. And that is what would bring or allow collaboration amongst different departments across different cross-regional offices, for example. And here we can see that the install Office 365, so the IT area of the project is only one aspect, right? So just by thinking in outcomes, you're also able to address the various components of your project, which you might typically not be, let's say, engaged in if you are just thinking about the solution or the deliverable. And so, yeah, this is just an example. So also just to mention here, this is just an example and differs with every group. So I'm not saying that this should be how you should, let's say, deliver an Office 365 cloud solution. This is very specific to the context. It's just an example that I've been allowed to share with you to give you an example of the power of outcomes and outcomes thinking and how that can help you really translate project objectives to outcome statements, and that you end up providing solutions that become operational assets. Operational assets are and operational assets are what is valuable to the business. Yeah. Moving on, this is also another example where another project, which is, let's say, tagged as develop new CRM system. So this is what you see classically, but you can also translate such a project objective into a desired business outcome, for example, where you would arrive at, let's say, a summary outcome statement that would look like this. After you engage the various stakeholders, right, you would end up, you just go in, ask the simple question, what does the future look like when it's working right, working just enough, or working just right enough, and what do you intend to achieve? You can also go on to ask follow-up questions with each feature. Why is this feature important? The idea is you are getting people's brain, so ideas that people have in their head, you are able to just put them on paper. The magic happens when you would realize that by talking to different people or your different stakeholders, you would get common ideas. And those common ideas are what you would use as your basis for building the outcome statements that should guide your project delivery. Here we use a metaphor. There's one famous metaphor which we also like to use to describe this idea of desired business outcomes. And it's about the difference between a deliverable which is stated as a block making factory, where the emphasis is just on the deliverable, a block, or a factory building blocks. So the second statement is of real value because it's more the emphasis is on an operational asset. The factory is already making blocks, and that is already generating revenue to the business. Just by building a factory, you create a capability, and in itself, this is a liability until it is turned into a revenue generating asset. Your outcomes need to be of value to the business. So let me introduce you to the components of the top value equation. And here you see that the emphasis is on beginning with outcome statement. So outcomes with a big O. So for every project that you may find yourself working on, you'll be given various objectives. The idea is to try to translate these objectives into outcomes. How do these objectives help the organization deliver operational assets? So you will talk to people, understand what is important to them. Then you will capture all these outcome statements. You'll then be able to define various change activities that help you deliver these outcome statements. Once you have delivered outcome statements, desired outcomes, you already start enabling benefits. And this is when once you have benefits, tangible benefits, you can point to value which has been delivered from your work as on that project or on that objective. And value needs to be sustained, so you should also need to capture and identify all the various value drivers that should help you sustain your value delivery. Yeah. The truth is that clear outcome statements help you do two things. Traditionally, if your focus is on just delivering your deliverables, right? Of course, there'll also be activities that help you deliver on those deliverables. But once you start thinking in outcomes, you also capture other components of the project that should help you deliver a working just right operational business environment. So you then are able to capture more activities that help you translate objectives to operational assets. And then by doing this, you don't focus on activities that don't add any value to whatever work you are doing. So being able to clearly articulate what the outcomes are for your project, you are able to do two things: you are able to identify activities that help you deliver your deliverables, but then you also have activities that should help you deliver your working just right operational business environment. And that is what is of value to the business. You build a solution that is useful. You don't build a solution that needs to be now. You don't build a solution that needs extra effort or a workaround to fit into the business needs, right? So that's the advantage here. Outcomes is taking you beyond just finishing projects to delivering value. And also in defining benefits, because we see that properly capturing benefits is also key to understand the various outcome statements that help you deliver benefits. Here we also have the top benefits funnel that allows you to capture all the various benefit components. So there are benefit components that are of external focus. So these are benefits around, let's take, for example, the customer, or benefits that allows you to be more competitive in your business. Then we have benefits that are of internal focus. This is around organizational capability, productivity, financial benefits, or benefits around risk reduction. So it's important to really do an exhaustive exercise to help you capture all the various benefits of your project objectives, for example. So why outcomes thinking? So I've been talking quite a lot about outcomes thinking, and why this is important. Let's go through some of the reasons why you might want to start using this technique of thinking in outcomes. So the first reason why you would be interested in this is that carefully crafted outcome statements give clear intention to the brain. And once you are able to tell the brain exactly what you are doing, the brain automatically performs its magic of helping you towards achieving this objective. This is very useful because when you are doing this, you are engaging different people and you are able to shift knowledge that is in people's heads. In most cases, we find that organizations are working in silos because different people are saying different things. But once you are already thinking about outcomes, you have a playbook that allows you to engage across the organization to understand exactly what you are doing, articulate it clearly because you properly define this, and this creates a shared language and understanding. Targeting outcomes will help you change how you measure success, because success is no longer measured on the fact that I have delivered this on time and on budget. Success will be measured by the fact that I have delivered on the outcome statement. What is it that we want to achieve by this project? And then also, the focus is taken away from just delivering software to delivering working operational processes, business operational processes, for example. And once you have outcome statements, you can reverse engineer to capture all the activities that are required to deliver successful projects. And we also have path dependency, which is very useful to sequence the execution of various outcomes in a particular path dependency roadmap, for example. And here you see an image, and this is an interesting graphic that demonstrates the idea of organizations or different departments working in silos because they really don't understand the global picture of what they are doing. For example, marketing might be seeing whatever you are doing as a tree, sales is seeing it as a wall, product management is seeing it as a rope, finance is seeing it as a fan. So we are doing different things, right? But just by using the power of outcomes thinking to translate your project objectives into operational assets, you force people to think consciously of what the future should look like when it's working well enough. This, once again, harnesses the brain's natural process of prospection. So when intention is clearly defined, you automatically pay attention to move in the right direction. And then also outcomes statements would shift us generally from knowledge that is tacit, is unarticulated, to knowledge that is explicit, and that helps you really move everyone in the same direction in terms of delivering on your objectives. Who can learn and apply outcomes thinking? Basically everyone who finds themselves in the project space. So business leaders and executives who are keen on executing strategy, because I think you all agree with me that valuable projects would ultimately help organizations deliver on their strategy. So if you want to begin delivering value, you should understand outcomes thinking and how it's a useful technique to help you achieve this. Also, people who are working as sponsors or the steering committee members who are really getting together to prioritize, define which projects should be given focus, can also use this technique of thinking in outcomes. Investment committee, enterprise portfolio managers also can take advantage of this. Project managers, business product owners, managers and staff, also consultants who generally help their clients to get great results. might also want to use these skills to transfer competence to their clients. So the concept of outcomes thinking is it's learnable, teachable knowledge. Everyone can be able to learn this technique and also be able to transfer this skill to anyone who might be interested, for example, to improve their value delivery technique or value delivery with projects. And currently Totally Optimized Projects is making available an introductory course if you want to really just jumpstart on leveraging on some of these concepts and ideas. A lot of the time people try to understand or are wondering if this is a new method. Is it going to replace what we already know with PMI, SAFe, Scrum, Prince2? Well, the answer is no. I got introduced to Totally Optimized Projects when I also attended a PMI UK chapter event like this. So really, these guys like to approach project professionals because we all know the challenge we have in our work. And once you understand this technique, you are not replacing what you already know, right? These ideas wrap around the concepts you already understand as practitioners and generally help us improve our value delivery. So the importance of projects is that we deliver solutions that are valuable to organizations that become operational assets. Yeah. So there's a link in there for you to click to just subscribe. And that will be it for me. Thank you very much. One more thing, and this is really from, so I generally work in the telecoms space, and currently we are in the, we have the 5G wave. So most telco companies are thinking about upgrading to 5G infrastructure. And one component for 5G networks is that the core network has to be completely virtualized. So it has to, you have to have a core network completely on the cloud. They call it cloudification. So here I'm just showing you, for example, outcomes thinking in action, where we see that companies like Google Cloud are already partnering with companies, traditional telco companies. So this was a news article where we see that Google Cloud is unveiling their strategy for the telco industry. So they are partnering with Vodafone because of this 5G wave. And here you can see that they have stated their strategic objectives as outcome statements, for example, right? So we see outcome statements in action. So they have 3 outcome statements. So the first one is they are helping telecommunication companies monetize 5G as a business services platform. That's the first outcome of what this strategy and partnership should be on. Then they are also empowering them to better engage their customers through data-driven experiences. And then they are also assisting them in improving operational efficiencies across core telecom systems. So I'm just sharing this with you. Outcome statements are very powerful. They just help you operationalize whatever objectives that you have, let's say in a program as part of your strategy, into operational assets that give value to the business. And yes, thank you very much. That will be it. I have a small question poll, so perhaps this would be so I'm happy to take questions, but then I would also want to share a small poll that can also help us have some form of interaction as well. So if you go to menti.com, if you can see my screen, you can go to menti.com. And then if you can go on to type in this code, you will see 2 questions. Then you can please answer that, and then we can engage with questions and answer time now. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Adam, for such a wonderful presentation on
Thank you.
value. We are grateful that you have shared so much experience how this can make our project better. Fellow PMI members, I have put the question that Adam gave to us as his final slide into our chat box. So you can just click on it and go to menti.com and respond to the 2 questions that he has just shared with us. I would like to remind us all that we should use our full names as we have joined this call, so that in apportioning our PDUs, it is easier for executives to do that. So please use your full names. Do not use half names to be able to catch up, so that we can see your PDUs without too much. I'll now hand over to Anne. Anne, if you are on the call, Anne will take us through the Q&As. And I know we have a lot of questions. To ask Adam. Adam is available and ready to listen and respond to all the questions to help us in how we bring value to our projects. So Anne, hello Anne, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you very much, Madam Teiko.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Adam, for the excellent presentation and for elaborating more on the need for us to add value to the project that we deliver. And I believe we are all going to apply the outcomes thinking to improve project value delivery. So we'll take some few questions. If you can chat them, you can write them in the chat box, or you can raise up your hand and we'll call you to ask your question. So the floor is open. I believe that we are all yearning to ask so many questions. So you can please go ahead and type them in the chat box, or you raise up your hand and you'll be called. Okay. So I see one hand raised from Gladys Naughty. You can please go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you so much for the excellent presentation. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about the lessons learned from at the beginning of the project when an organization does not have a growth mindset and you have to introduce this. What are some of the challenges that we need to think of as project managers if our organization doesn't have this mindset? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Gladys. So yeah, so in most cases, yeah, organizations, not all organizations might have this mindset of growth, right? And typically they might have challenged projects. So projects where they are struggling to know if what they are doing is of value or not. So I think just the presence of projects that might be challenge projects, you can use this as your entry to begin the discussion. So you go in there, you ask them, okay, why are you struggling with this particular project? And then try to understand where the value components are. And this is just by asking the simple question, what should the future look like when it's working just right? And so whoever is, let's say, the main sponsor, you go in there, you ask this person this question, and just by engaging them, you would realize that they would give you ideas on what it is that they want to achieve, and you can start from there. So I think just by going in there, asking about challenge projects, you are able to find an entry point to start this conversation about using outcomes thinking to help translate what you do in the classic approach, right? You're given objectives, you want to just work on these objectives and deliver solutions and move on. But if you engage further to understand how these solutions become operational assets, then you're thinking outcomes, and that could help you, yes, begin some conversations there. Gladys, I hope I answered your question.
You did answer my question, but I want to jump on that further. And the next part would be, do you suggest also, as we understand outcome statements, oftentimes I've been encouraged to come with a recommendation. So you presented some really beautiful slides, and if I could think through the value and provide some of those slides ahead of time and go to my stakeholders or sponsors, would you recommend that in terms of thinking through and kind of walking through an example? Because if somebody doesn't see it, maybe if they saw it as a couple of slides, maybe I can talk them through. What do you think about that suggestion?
Yes. You could also approach this, but that would be if you already have an information on what exactly you're struggling with, right? So you can't just use the general concept of thinking in outcomes, but it's more useful or more effective to just talk to people to understand where they are at, and then you can use that conversation to craft outcome statements working with them. I think that is also a more tactical approach, right? Because people, as we saw, value is really the context of value is very specific to who you are working for. So whatever is of value to person A might not be valuable to person B, for example. So it's important to go in there and understand value as per their context, and then you can sort of craft the outcome statement based on what is valuable to them, for example. So you can use the two approaches, I would say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gladys. Thank you for your question. Really appreciate.
The consumer.
Okay, so Adam, before we take the next question, I think somebody wants you to share your email and contact, so you can actually type it in the chat box for us whilst we take the next question. So please, the floor is still open. You can raise up your hand and ask your question. Okay, so Elon. I think Elon wants to ask something. Elon Reku, you can ask your question, please.
Yes, good evening and well done to Adam. I would want to find out if, as a project manager, you are working on the project and you are focused on delivering the right outcome or right value for the project, and your executives does not have the right appetite for project value or the realization. What would it mean as a PM having that appetite and trying to deliver the right outcome of your project? Because I believe that benefit realization or project outcome should be a culture of an organization, emanating from the top to the down, so that everybody is aware of what we are driving at. Because I believe that the price you pay is the value you get. So once we are paying the price for our project, then of course we must ensure that the right value is being delivered. So it's a question, but also a suggestion to your presentation, that shouldn't it be a culture? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I did not get your name again. Who asked the question?
Elon.
Yes, Elon Reku. Thank you very much for the question. Yes, so I agree with you, Elon. It should definitely be a culture, and it should be a culture that is known from the top. Because in most cases, when you are working on a project and then you have challenges or you have issues, the person who gets the blame, unfortunately, is the project manager, right? But sometimes there are some components of the project that fail, that are not directly your fault, because of course there are different people that you need to engage with. So if you're not really thinking in outcome statements, you might not capture the work of these other people. Take, for example, I just want to go back to my presentation. So what I shared, yes. So take, for example, this slide. That's slide number, yes, slide 18. So here you see that, okay, so starting from slide 17. So typically, yes, you come in and you have your project objective stated as install Office 365, yeah? If you then go in and you think your work is only to install Office 365, of course, you end up focusing only on this outcome. You go in there, you make sure that all the devices are installed, job done, you want to move on. But you can see that the success of this project, in order for everyone to adopt Office 365 and use it, you really needed to engage also with some aspect of legal, making sure that the scalability components of the software for the work from anywhere concept are agreed, are captured in contract. You decommission existing things. You also need to interface with HR because training should also be carried along whilst you are doing this upgrade in order to make sure that by the time you have finished installing Office 365 and everyone is happy to use it, you have trained everyone, they all know what to do, and then you have a successful project. So this is what outcomes thinking helps you to do. It gives you the bigger picture. So you don't go in and think only on the deliverable, the solution, but translating the deliverable into an operational asset. If you work on a solution that is not used, then it's not of value, right? But if you work on a solution that you hand over to the business and everyone is happy to jump on board and use it, then that is your value. But then you have to define what value is. The value of this project is that once you upgrade everything, once you upgrade all devices, people should be able to adopt and use it anywhere. And then once this is done, work gets done, and of course people are happy to have this flexible approach of working, and then there's an improved work balance. So that's the idea, right? You are able to just show to the business that what you are doing brings value just by thinking in outcome statements. Maybe I have talked slightly or gone overboard, but I hope, Elon, I addressed your question. Yes or no?
Yes, to some extent, but I will hold on for now. But yes.
Okay, but do you have any other follow-up questions? You can feel free to engage.
Yes, because of the example you gave on maybe the implementation of Office 365, having interfaces with different departments because of HR and all the other functions of an organization. You also made mention of outcomes should be identified and tracked. Okay, so we know that, and the main purpose for you to identify and track the outcome is to ensure so that you can be able to measure whether it is delivering what was in expectation or not. And I believe that that's why I said it should be a culture thing, because outcomes are mainly supposed to be captured in the business case. And yes, the business case is a justification for you to secure approval for your project or for the project to commence. So without clearly identifying, because it's the business owner or the business who understand what their issues are or what their problems or the opportunities they have identified, they should be able to possibly try to identify all possible benefits that they think it relates to the project. Okay, so that once project is delivered into full service or transition into operations, we can now check, and there should be a frequency, or there should be a time frame for you to report on your benefit. So we can now go back to say, look, you promised this benefit or this outcome. Is the project delivering that, yes or no? So there should be some form of measurement. So that's why I said I agree with you to some extent, maybe because what I'm thinking in my mind in terms of the outcome or project outcome, you didn't really elaborate it. I don't know, but that's why I want to end it here, to just accept what you have. But I agree with you, it's fine, but I only thought you could expand it a little bit more, just so that it clears my understanding. But I'm fine, very fine. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So you can also feel free to engage further if you want to take this offline. I'm happy to do that. So yeah,
Sure.
if you have specific projects and then you want to run some things through, I'm happy to engage you on that. Yeah.
Grateful. I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay. So Adam has shared his email address in the chat. So if you want to engage further, you can just check his email in the chat. So I'll take the next question from Cadman in the chat. He says, are the success of project outcomes seen differently by different people in an organization, depending on where they sit? That's the question for you, Eden. Should I repeat it?
Yes, please repeat it. Yes.
Okay. He says, are the success of project outcomes seen differently by different people in an organization, depending on where they sit?
Well, it's in the same organization, the idea of outcomes and outcome statements or desired business outcomes is to get everyone on the same page. Yeah, in terms of what you want to achieve. Yeah. So although you might speak to, let's say, people in finance, or let's say people in HR, or let's say people in marketing on what the future should look like when it's working right or working well enough, you will get different ideas. Yeah. And what you do with the different ideas is you capture all these ideas on paper. But the magic is, although you speak to different stakeholders, you speak to different people, there will be common ideas, and you move with the common ideas, because everyone has an idea of what they want, but you need to talk to them, you need to engage with them to understand what is important in terms of the work you are doing. But you would end up finding that although they would have varying ideas, when you capture all this, you still connect the dots with some common statements or common ideas, and you build your desired outcomes on these common ideas to make sure that everyone is on the same page, because the energy is giving people a common understanding of what you are doing. So that's how you work, really. Yeah. You would have different thoughts, but you would end up also having common thoughts. And this is where you develop or engineer the carefully crafted outcome statements. You move with the common ideas. Yeah, thank you.
Cadman, I hope your question is answered. Okay, so.
Yes, I think he did.
Okay, great. So we'll take the next question, please. I don't see any hands raised yet. So can we have you ask your questions? I think we have some little time for question and answers. So if you can please send your questions in the chat box, or you raise up your hand.
Yeah, I'm also sharing the poll from the question I asked. So
okay,
you can see my screen from the second question. If you answered yes, what changes will you make to get more focus on delivering project value. So I see that some people are keen on getting outcomes on paper, which is good, because actually when you go around to ask questions, the idea is that you write down this. You see, when you're, because I found this a lot in my work. Sometimes people have ideas of what they want, but they are not able to clearly articulate them, even in a project business case, for example. But if you go and you talk to them, you write down every single thing they say, right? Get everything they want on paper. Your first draft will be quite messy, but this is where you begin from. Then you go again, you speak to different people. You end up finding out that yes, people have different ideas, but they also say similar things, and this is where you focus your energy on. So it's good. Working with this technique on paper is a good approach. Of course, all this is all about stakeholder engagement, right? If you really want to break the silos, whilst with your work, you need to get everyone with this. You need to focus the energies from the different people on the same objective. So engage them to understand what they want. Yeah. So someone says they would define objectives in terms of outcomes and what they intend to achieve. So that's fine. Stakeholder engagement. So yeah, that's good.
Well, can I ask a question?
Sure, you can.
Teco, yeah. This is Moses Tete, Airport Toastmasters.
Please go ahead.
Now, when you try to determine or get the outcomes, the desired outcomes, there may be some amount of differences as you go along. For example, in a large organization where there's accounting, there's marketing, and there's banking, marketing people usually want to expand the base because they want to get more people on board. But those in accounting will say that includes cost. That would mean cost to us. So when you go looking for desired outcomes, you might find that there is some kind of division as to what the outcome should be like. Now, you as a project manager, you probably have a clearer picture as to where they should be going. Does that mean that you intervene and do some amount of coaching or, mentoring for them to determine the right direction to go, or you just say, oh, okay, this is what the people have agreed, so we shall do it? But they want to open a new branch in Tamale. Somebody say that's a lot of money. Marketing people say, no, let's open it because you're going to get more people on board, revenue increase, etc. So how would you approach that? Do you intervene or you just say, well, that's what they're looking for? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Moses, for your question. Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, no business wants to, let's say, embark on projects that are not of value in terms of cost or value in terms of we don't see benefits, right? So outcome statements are not supposed to make you overspend, right? But then the interesting thing about outcomes is people are willing to spend up to what is of value to them. So there's always a bargain. Someone might be happy to spend, let's say, $20,000 on, let's say, a car because this is what they want. It brings them value. Somebody else might want to spend $50,000 because they appreciate the comfort in, let's say, a luxury vehicle. So it's very specific. So you really need to just go in and understand what is of value to them. So take, for example, the example I gave about the water in the desert. A customer who finds themselves in the desert will pay more for water, just a bottle of water, than someone who finds themselves in a grocery store where they can choose with different types of water brands. So it's really subjective. Value is really subjective. What I find valuable might not be valuable to you, for example. So you need to understand this context, and then outcome statements would help you craft or engineer what is valuable to them in your project objective. I hope I answered you.
if you think that they should invest more and put a 10-year limit on it, tell them that in 10 years this will come through, will you say, let's go ahead and invest more because within this period this will happen? You can put words like, however, there will be rising costs in the first 5 years, that kind of thing, when you're looking at the outcomes.
Yes, right? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Because you remember this famous project, the Sydney Opera House.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so a lot of people classically, if you go by the standard metrics for measuring projects, that project was over budget. It went and it outran the time schedule. And people were saying that it was a failure, right? But when they completed that project, it put Australia on the map, right? I think they see a lot of value in what has been built. So in terms of the outcome, someone might also say that was a very successful project. So it means that there is a bargain. This is why you really need to understand outcomes in the context of the organization. Some large organizations may end up spending more in order to achieve benefits because they have the budget, they have the luxury, they have capital to spend. Some other organizations might not have that luxury and would want to maximize their profits by spending less. So it's really a case by case basis. You really need to understand what your key stakeholders place value on, and then guide them that way. Yeah, the idea is you empower them with this technique. And then, so although you are executing the plan, you also empower them to translate objectives into operational assets that are useful to them.
Okay, thank you very much. What you described, is that one of a project manager from within the organization or from without the organization?
Yeah, it can be someone who is within, because there are also someone who is outside. I think you can come in with as long as you are coming in to deliver solutions that don't just get left on the shelf, right? You can either be operating inside or outside. Basically, you see that, and this is one of the differentiators with what Totally Optimized projects do, because these guys were formerly the classic consultants. They were BCG consultants. They want to come inside from outside and solve your problem, right? But they realized that in working this way, although they are profiting as a business, it's not good because people in the organization don't know what they are doing. And then they saw that, well, it's better to help them by teaching them how to work in outcomes, right? So if they really understand what they are doing, they come in, teach you so that you can do this on your own. And so you don't really need people outside the organization to come in and sort of isolate work on your challenge projects. Yeah, so that's how they provide this concept of delivering value by really starting with thinking about outcomes. And the idea is to teach people to know how to do this so they can do this on their own within the organization.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you too, Moses.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, so we'll take 2 more questions. So people can still raise their hands. If you have any question, we can take the last 2 questions, if any. It seems, Adam, you have really elaborated on everything, so I guess it's very clear.
I see. Thank you.
Because there are no more questions. So, okay, if there are no more questions, I think I'll hand over to my colleague, Madam Teko, to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Thanks so much. These questions really did add value to this discussion that we have had. And I believe that going forward, we'll see how to ensure that we are implementing some of this, if not all, in the work that we do as project managers. Once again, a gentle reminder, if you are on the call, PMI member, kindly use your full name or the name that PMI knows so that it's easy for us to apportion the PDUs to you. Kindly use your full names so that it is easy